All right. Hey, Jared, thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for
So,
having me.
yeah, doing all right.
Doing well. Yeah.
We had a Thanksgiving worship service. Obviously, you were there, so was I.
Yes.
So you might remember that we do every year, and we always have testimony, and kind of your testimony was just, hey, how many years sober
13.
from heroin, right?
Heroin, yes. Yep.
Yeah, and you kind of like, obviously, not everyone knows. I mean, I know, but I don't know the full story, but I know that was something that God overcame in your life.
Absolutely.
Satan's drug is what I call it for
Yep.
sure. I'm sure you agree. But it was just cool, to see 'cause people who maybe a lot of people who don't know you or don't know your story. We're just like, wow, that's like so encouraging,
Yeah.
Um, so, obviously you've been sober from it for 13 years, but it must have been a battle for a long time.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a specific moment or day or maybe just a few where like that you can remember that stands out that you're like, this is the lowest. Like I don't think I'll ever come back from this.
Yeah. So when Tiana was born, she was probably, I think, about 3 months old. And I was still actively using and just, lying to myself and everybody else around me. And the walls were closing in, and like I was super depressed. I was ready to just give up on life. I didn't care if I died or, I pretty much wanted to die. I was done. And I had been crying out to God and reaching out and in the way that I knew how, which, I didn't really have a super close relationship. I was seeking, but I didn't really know how to seek because
Yeah.
I was just trapped by the addiction and that those shackles and those chains were just so heavy and like the burden was just incredible. And it was a very dark time in my life. But I remember I had just used, and Katie was working, and she was in just her little swing, and I was looking at her, and just something clicked,
You're
like
supposed to be watching her.
I'm supposed to be watching her, and like God gifted me with her, and
Yeah.
like trusted me with this life, and that kind of just opened my eyes to a whole new, level. Like, wow, God is really blessed me with this child that he's entrusted me with, and I don't know why,
Yeah.
So I was just broken. I was really at my wit's end with everything. I was done. I just couldn't do it anymore. And my life just started to fall apart. I had lost my job. Katie was ready to just get a divorce and just take off.
How long had you been married at that point?
We had been married just about 2 years.
Okay.
So, I mean, not super long, but we had been together for like 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I was clean for a period of time and then it was just right back to it. And this time I just hit it so hard. It was just, I was at my, like, the lowest I've ever been in my life. It was rock bottom, like below rock bottom. It was death. It was a grave, pretty much.
Did anyone else besides whoever you were getting it from, but did people in your life know you were doing it at that point?
Oh yeah, yeah. I couldn't hide it
Pretty
anymore.
obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I got fired from Home Depot because I was, visibly high one day at work, and like they asked me to take a drug test, and I thought I had a day or two to go like clean out, and they're like, "No, he's waiting for you." So I was like, "Okay, this is it. I'm getting fired," and I did, and then which was a godsend. It was a blessing.
Yeah.
But a pastor from my old church, he's like, hey, because they knew, like they called me out on it all the time. They're like, dude, you're a mess. I'm like, no, I'm fine, man. I'm fine. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got my job. I'm married. I got my kid and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, you're not fine. Because he had struggled with addiction too. And he graduated Teen Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So, that day after, watching Tiana and realizing like God actually gave me this gift and, I was pretty broken, well, completely broken. And I was like, well, Jesus, if you're real, show me, make it happen. Show me, deliver this from me. Like, take my addiction, deliver me from this heroin addiction. So I went upstairs to, I think I was trying to start a fight with Katie for some reason. The enemy really had me at that time. And instead of that, I went upstairs and I just fell to my knees and just started crying and like, the Holy Spirit cry where you can't control it. Like God was holding me down just in like everything I did, like every sin that I had done or lie or everything I did in our marriage that was just I told her I had to tell the truth. And I finally, told the truth that I've been holding on to for so long. That was just that hindrance. That's where the devil really had a grip on me, because something had happened before we got married and I lied about it. And I ended up telling her the truth. And we both felt like a literal breeze come through our room. And like we both took a deep breath at the same time. And that oppression was just gone. Gone. Not that it got easy, but it was gone. We felt that the whatever spirit was there, we just felt it go. Like it's hard to explain, but it just the pressure that was on my shoulders and all that weight was gone. It was lifted. And that my pastor friend had called me and said, "Hey, I got a room for you at Teen Challenge. You're leaving tomorrow morning." And I said, "Oh, can I go to detox and get clean?" And he's like, "No, you're going tomorrow morning, so be ready." So my mom picked me up and, off we went to Brockton. And there I stayed for 18 months. And, I was able to learn the words, learn what a true relationship with Christ is, and
Wow.
pretty much every day you wake up, you have chapel in the morning. After that, you do 7 hours or 6 hours of study, and then you got to memorize like 6 or 7 verses a day. You do chapel at night, and then you go to bed, and then you wake up. You do the same thing for the first 3 months, and then they put you on they put you on like a drug awareness team or the carpentry team, and drug awareness team is what I got picked for, which is we pretty much go stand in front of Walmarts. You may have seen them at the stores and stuff like that. And you collect money and you just pretty much give you a testimony and pray for people. And it was pretty powerful because like I learned how to evangelize and like really reach out.
Yeah.
And, God really like showed me like how it really is, in certain situations, he put people in my life that are still in my life. And, to like show you that miracles are still real.
Yeah.
And
So what? Just back it up for a sec. So what?
Yeah.
What got you into it? Like, take us back to when it all started, or why do you think it started?
so I grew up. My family's great. I had a great childhood. Had everything I ever wanted. I was a very popular kid. I was great at sports. Like I had everything that everybody would want in in the worldly sense.
Yep.
And something inside, I was never really insecure, but I hated myself. I did not like who I was. For some reason, there was just this emptiness in my soul. I know what it is now. It was like a hole in my soul. I didn't have Christ, and I never knew
Did you
what
go
it
to
was.
church at all as a kid?
I mean, I went to Catholic church. I did CCD as a kid, and was kind of forced into that. I didn't really pay attention, and I didn't really get much out of it. So, I mean, I always had a faith in God. I never disbelieved that there was a God. And I always believed Jesus was real, but I didn't know exactly what it meant.
Never really heard the gospel
I never
before.
heard the gospel. And, my parents didn't really know the gospel either because they were in the Catholic church as well.
So when you said you hated what about, was there anything specific?
Honestly, I couldn't pinpoint it. I just did not like who I was.
So what did that create in you? What did that create, your personality and how you treated other people?
I mean, I was always a pretty nice guy, and I always tried to be fair with everybody, and like I tried to be a good person, but just to myself, I did not and I was the worst to myself, and I had tried to commit suicide more than once.
How old were you when that happened?
Oh, I was probably in my late teens. I was probably like 17. And then when I was, probably 17, I had, slit my wrist to the bone and pretty much almost died. And,
Were you at home?
No, I was at a party, and like nobody stopped and nobody really did anything.
Jeez.
But it's funny because my friend Derek was walking by, and he lived down the street, and he said something stopped him that day he said he just stopped and said something's wrong, and he went in the house. And I was on the couch bleeding to death, and nobody around me was doing anything. And
Were they not doing anything because they were drunk or high or
Probably, who knows?
yeah,
It wasn't cool, whatever it was. But,
yeah. 'Cause I mean,
if
jeez.
I had saw that, I would have stopped,
Right.
drinking or partying and
Yeah.
tried to help somebody out.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
didn't. And he's not a Christian, but God told him that
Mm.
something needed to be done. And he went down there and, he saved my life. He ended up getting me to the hospital.
Do you
And
remember what was going through your head when you did do that?
I was just so angry and like just filled with self-hatred. And I don't know why. I think,
It's like demonic.
yeah, I think the enemy really did not want me to survive, and then after that, obviously became this dark addiction to heroin. And,
Jeez.
I had like to party when I was a kid and smoke weed and drink and, do a little bit of other stuff. But the, I
So
remember,
you go, you obviously went to the hospital. And what did
yes,
your parents say when they felt about that?
they were probably pretty freaked out,
Yeah.
they weren't really expecting that. I don't think anyone was. And,
No.
I remember my friends were like, dude, what's going on?
Did you get help or anything? Or?
I mean, just therapy, but
Yeah.
I knew I was pretty good at just BSing my way through all of that and
Yeah.
telling people what I knew they wanted to hear. I knew all the buzzwords and like what you would tell a therapist. So
And this might be hard to remember, but were you glad at the time that he saved you, or were you like, I wish I had just died?
yeah,
Depend on the moment, maybe.
yeah, I mean, I think I was happy that I didn't die,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that God did call him to come down and help me out. And
Mm.
it didn't get, like I said, it got a lot darker from there, though. That was just,
Did anything else happen to create that, or was it just like a spiral?
so, I mean, I tried to, to bounce back and, get my head on straight. But I remember being at a party and there was cocaine and stuff going around. And one of my friends,
Were you still in high school, or were you out of high
it
school?
was like right on, I was probably, I think it was
Just
senior,
graduated.
year, yeah, or just graduated. And somebody put heroin on the table and he's like, oh, try this. And I tried it and I knew right away it wasn't, coke. I'm like, wow, this is different. And like something in me was like, wow, I really like this.
Yeah.
And it kind of became this thing, a couple days a week, and then, the weekends, and then it was every day. And then from sniffing it, it became, injecting it into my vein, and just a very dark, dark life.
I've heard it described as like this pursuit, like that first time you do it.
Yeah, you never get it. You never get that again. That's
Yeah.
for sure. And you chase it.
Yeah.
And I always had a high tolerance anyway for everything. And it doesn't help when you're doing that and you have
No,
an extremely high
you could die.
tolerance. Yeah. And
What
yeah.
would you normally do? Did you have, obviously eventually you just had it at where you lived, but
Yeah. I would go to Worcester at, Great Brook Valley. I'd be there at midnight by myself, walking around trying to find stuff. I've been jumped. I've been, robbed. And it's scary being in those situations, because you're not thinking, you just need to get that next fix. And
would you back then try to go without it, or were you just like, nah, I need it at that point?
I mean, so I would wake up physically ill,
Yeah.
and it was really hard to go without it. And yeah, it was just hard, and it was hard to work. It was hard to keep a job. It was hard to pretty much live. That was my life, was trying to get the next fix or get money to get the next fix. And it was crazy. It was just very dark. It was a very demonic life.
Did you hate yourself even more at that point, or were you just
I did, yeah. I mean, I was to the point I could have cared less what happened. And, and yeah, like, I remember, I wanted, part of me wanted to get better, and then part of me just couldn't get better, if that makes any sense.
God, I think that's a good description of addiction.
So in 2007, I was in this place called the Phoenix House, and that was in Springfield, and it was a rough area up there. And we went to this Celebrate Recovery Day in Boston, like as a whole, like everybody went there.
Like from the church. From the church?
Yeah, it's not even a church. It was just it was just for pretty much all the sober houses or whatever like that.
Oh,
It might have been called something different.
so
It,
at that
yeah,
point you were trying to get
it was some type of recovery program. So I was in the program for like 5 months, 6 months, and
how old would you have been at that
I was
point?
like 20. I'm 42 now, so 24, 25, somewhere in that
So
range.
you had been doing it for like 6 years.
Yeah, probably even a little bit long. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, it had been a while. Yeah. So,
Wow.
and then I ran into Katie. She was working at a sober house in Worcester,
Mm.
and she's not my wife, but I had seen her across the room. I said, "Wow, I've recognized her." And I asked one of the people in a group. I said, "Is that Katie?" She said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So I ended up talking to Katie, and
Had she had an addiction, or was she
no,
just
she's a nurse, so she was
she was
working there doing some type of
first thing they
internship.
probably tell them, don't tangle with any of the
Yeah,
patients.
so in some internship or whatever.
Yeah.
But I knew Katie. So funny, I'm just gonna go back to high school.
Yeah.
I think I was in 8th grade. She was in 9th grade, and the first time I saw her, we had a mutual friend, Jen, that lived on my street, and I was like, "Who's that girl?" And she said, "Oh, it's Katie." I said, "I'm gonna marry that girl." And like years later, because I had dated her for a couple weeks, but like at that point in my life,
Yeah.
I was just, not ready to settle down
I wouldn't think
at
so.
all. Yeah. So, but we ended up, we stayed in touch and stuff like that for a little while. And then, after high school or whatever, I went my own way. She went her way. And yeah, certainly two different roads that we went. But when I saw her, we started talking again. And I came home from the Phoenix house. I was clean for a little while. I was on Suboxone or whatever. And
What caused you to go to the Phoenix house? Do you remember?
I think at that point I was just like, I was probably trying to do it
Were
for,
you still living at home, or were you on your
yeah, I
own?
was at my parents' house. So
Yeah.
I was probably doing it for them and trying to get clean. Like, cause like I said, part of me wanted to get clean, but
Yeah.
the other part of me was
And
like,
no church yet at this point?
no church
Okay.
yet. Nope. But so I started talking to Katie, and then I came home. We started hanging out. I started going to church in Worcester with her.
Was
And
she already going to church?
She was going, yeah.
Okay.
So she had a faith, and
Mhm.
she had more of a understanding of what it was. So I started to, learn a little bit about what God is about, and we were doing like a young adult ministry or whatever, or a group, and so I mean, it was cool. I still wasn't. My mindset was not right at all, and that addiction was still there, and it was like really gripping me.
Mhm.
So we were dating. I'd go through spurts of doing really well and then not doing so well. And then we ended up getting married. Her family didn't want her to marry me, and she did. And I'm grateful for that because we've been married for 15 years now. So,
Mhm.
but, so the first 2 years of marriage were very, very rocky. I was a mess. It was not good. And it's like,
Were you when did you? Because you were clean for a little bit.
yeah.
At what point were you still dating, or were you married when you went back?
We were dating, and
Yeah.
I was good at lying and making things seem good on the outside. But you come to a point where you can't hide it anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, dude, you visibly, 160 pounds soaking wet, if that, and just a mess.
Why is that? You just don't.
You
get
don't
hungry?
eat. You just don't eat. You're always chasing that. That's it, and that's pretty much it. And if you do eat, it's like maybe a bag of chips or some. I used to eat cream of wheat, which is weird. That was it. I'd pour tons of brown sugar and butter in it, and that was my meal, like most of the time.
Wow.
Yeah, but I couldn't hold. I couldn't eat anything else. We'd go out to dinner, and like I'd be just nodding out at the table, and it's just. It wasn't a good scene. It wasn't a good look.
No.
And I was miserable again. I was not happy, and
Yeah.
just I was trying the Suboxone, and like I said, I would do okay for a little while, but
Suboxone, is that like?
it's almost like methadone, just
Okay.
but I would get a prescription to take home, and what I would end up doing is selling that to get more,
Oh, geez.
yeah, because I could make a ton of money off that, and just it'd be gone though so quickly, and it was just a revolving door of mistakes, and it just never being able to find my way.
What's it? how would you describe, what does it feel like when you're in that throes of like addiction? You just have, like, what does it feel like? What goes through your mind?
Like on a daily basis.
No, just like, well, yeah, but like say you're, like I'm not going to do it today, but then it's just like you're just overcome by it. What is it
Yeah,
like?
it's like it's just this overwhelming feeling like that you can't shake off. You just it's your mind. Even if your mind wants to not do it, you have to. It's like you can't control it. You can't like stop that feeling
Yeah.
of. It's just too overpowering. It's literally the demonic
Yeah.
pull. Like,
And that pretty much started from the first time you did it, right? It's not like you needed to do it like 10 times before.
I mean, I liked it the first time I did it, but it took like a little while before I would like realize like
Realize
I'm
it.
addicted.
Yeah.
Like I have an issue, like
Yeah.
I can't go without this stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah. And I've lost countless friends. Countless friends.
Stealing and stuff like that, or
Just death, man.
lost him death. I got you. Yeah.
Overdosing. Yeah. And
I don't know.
I can't even count. I don't even know. I don't even want to try.
Mm.
Lots of good friends in the grave at an early age. And one just recently that you knew,
Yeah.
which is super sad. But he was my best friend growing up. And,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's just God's reminder, like how he saved me and pulled me out of that death.
Yeah. We're not, I mean, I'm not belittling other drug addictions.
No,
But
no.
that one you don't hear too many people get sober from without
Yeah.
methadone and all that.
Well, he literally delivered that from me. Like
Yeah.
I asked for deliverance, it was gone.
Yeah.
From that day that I got clean,
Yeah.
I haven't thought about using it. Never want to use it again. It was done. He took that from me. Because he knew it would be death if I went back to it. I think one time I would die. I don't even think it would happen.
Yeah. So it was first couple of years of marriage where I'm sure Katie has said since, like, probably regretted it, got pregnant.
Yeah, yeah,
So now you have a baby.
yeah. I think she always she always saw the good in me because she knew me from the past, and
Right.
she knew when I was sober, like I was great, and hard worker, just a very pleasant person, truthful person, honest, and just I love everybody. You know what I mean? I'm a very loving guy. I'm a very social person.
Yeah.
And she saw that through all of that darkness.
Right.
And thank God for that, because she truly she's a saint for sticking by my side.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have blamed her one bit if she had said, "Hey, I'm packing it up."
Yeah.
But I think God knew that if she did that, I probably would have died.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have got clean.
Yeah. And that deliverance came kind of early on when you think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not like,
Yep.
she probably didn't have a whole lot, because eventually that's going to affect her child, and that's not going to.
Right.
No mom's going. Well, you
Yeah.
didn't say that. Some moms do, but she probably would have been like, "No,
Yeah.
it's not just me now."
Right. Yeah. No. And a lot of people don't like when they see they have kids. It doesn't change anything. But it woke me up. Like I looked into her little eyes and I said, "Wow, he trusts me with this life, this life in front of me.
Yeah.
God gave me that because I don't deserve anything like that." And that's when God started kind of speaking to me a little bit more on a personal level.
Yeah, because in those years you're going to church, but now you're using again. So what was that like? Were you just kind of
it was just like
going through the motions?
I was going through the motions. Not that I wasn't listening. Like
Yeah.
my ears were open to a point,
Yeah.
but I had the devil. It was like the angel and the devil. One's telling me one thing, the other's telling me the other thing. So I wanted to do the right thing, but I was just those hooks go deep. They really do.
How long into your marriage did it became evident to others, including Katie, that, I mean, you said it was dating, but like you said, like church pastor, like,
Oh yeah,
were you able to hide it for a time, or was it getting pretty obvious?
I could hide it from people that didn't know that life,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
for the people that had
know.
any sense of addiction,
Yeah.
they could tell right away.
Just like you probably know, right? You can probably tell.
Oh, I could tell. Yeah, I can almost feel it. You know what I mean? Just by looking in their eyes, I can tell.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
God's given me the discernment for that. And, so, and then that's a good thing because then I could actually feed into them and be like, hey,
right.
I know what saved my life.
Keep your wallet closer to you as well. Right?
Hey, no, if they want my wallet, I'll give it to them. That's fine. I got something better for you,
Yeah. Yeah. Take some money. Here's the gospel as well.
Exactly. Yeah. If that's what it takes, you could have the $20 if I even have anything in my wallet.
So that led to that, like you said, that night where you're just looking at Tiana and just saying, man.
Yeah, that really.
And you said, Jesus, if you're real. So would you? I mean, it's sometimes really hard. Was I a believer? Was I not? But what do you think?
So, like, I always had, like, I believed that he was real. I was just, but
like,
I think
real though.
Yeah, like, show me, like,
there's Jesus.
There's
but now,
Jesus,
is this
right.
really?
Are you real here? Like, are you still here? Are you present? And like, I wanna know. Like, just prove to me, And I kind of called him out, and it worked. And like, he's like, I'm real, man. I'm gonna show you. But
so you went up, and then you said you knelt down. And you just began to weep, just sob.
Uncontrollably. Just sobbed. And like.
And what did that feel like? Did you feel like something was coming out or?
To be honest, like when I got to the top of the stairs, I was expecting like an argument, you know what I mean? To unfold. But like I felt almost like a literal push to my knees. And just, it was like a volcano of tears. And just every feeling I've ever had, like there was happy.
Was Katie there? Did she?
She was there. Oh yeah, she was right in front of me, and she did not know what was happening. And I mean, it was just like a volcano of emotions. It was sadness, mourning, just happiness, joy, like everything at once was just coming out of me.
Had you ever felt anything like that before?
Nope. I felt one or the other, but never like this. This was just like I couldn't stop. It was insane. And then I could hear in my head like, the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. And like I started telling her, like,
had you remembered hearing that like in church before or
not really? I mean, I might have heard it, but just like a generic saying, you know what I mean? And like it just. But at this point, I was like hearing it, and like, I'm like, okay, this is weird, and I'm feeling this. I got all this going on. I just called Jesus out, and like here, this is happening, and like, yeah, it was pretty intense. But so I did. I told her the truth about everything. I'm like, everything I did wrong, like I stole, I did this, I did that. Everything that was holding me back came out.
Just right there at the top of the stairs, or?
Right there, pretty much at the foot of the bed, because like I came into the bedroom and it just crushed me. And
Katie's first reaction, you said eventually, obviously, it was freeing for both of you, but was at first she just like?
I think she was kind of like, wow, what was happening? Like what is going on? She didn't know if something had happened, and like why is he bawling his eyes out like
police
that?
On their way, what's happening?
Right, and like she was, but I think she kind of saw that she knew I was very broken, and like I've had like I think that was my wit's end, like for both of us, when she was very tired too and stressed out, and she didn't deserve to go through all that after being pregnant and carrying our baby and giving birth, and then just me doing all that stuff, and it wasn't fair to her at all, and it just
Well, drugs destroy.
They do. And I think she worked at AdCare, so I think she understood that. She saw a lot of addiction, and like she was a little naive to it at first, but then she started to see and started to realize.
Yeah, takes
experience.
Little experience.
And her sister had struggled with heroin for 20-something years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she kind of saw it to an extent because it was more. She's younger than her sisters. Her sisters have, a good 15 years on her. So they were kind of two different age groups, and they're from Revere, and she was out here with her dad and her mom, and
Mm.
so it was just a kind of different lives, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But
But she had seen it to some
yeah,
degree,
she had seen it a little bit.
seen the effects of it.
Yeah.
Wow. So that night, do you remember, was there a time where you're just like, all right, I guess I'm just going to go to sleep now? Like, what? Or did you
Yeah.
just talk all night long? Or
I mean, we talked for a little bit. I don't remember too clear.
yeah,
You know, I was still
yeah,
not right at that time, and just a lot of emotion, a lot going on.
and so was there?
And
Where was your faith at that point?
it was becoming stronger.
Yeah,
Yes. And then I knew he was real, and I
Yeah.
could feel it, because it wasn't only, you know, the it was that freeing feeling of when I had told the truth about everything. It was just, I could feel the spirit. Something felt different, you know, that the darkness wasn't there anymore. It was almost
Right.
like that demonic spirit had to run, you know, he had to get out of there. And I just had a different outlook, you know, and I started to feel different. And then everything.
You described it like a breeze or something like
Yeah,
that.
it was like a literal breeze came through the room, and just, we both took a deep breath at the same time. It was,
Really?
yeah. And we both could breathe. It was just, that's how much oppression was in the house and on us. It was just crazy. And
Mm.
yeah, and it just,
So
was
now, the next day, the pastor called about the Teen Challenge,
he did.
and you had been fired, so you weren't working, or had you?
I had just gotten fired. It was
Yeah,
the Lord lined everything up to happen pretty quickly.
yeah.
You know, because
So that's in Brockton.
it's in Brockton. Yeah, they have like 9 of
Yeah,
them,
they
but
have
they sent
several.
me to the main center in Brockton.
Um. So did someone bring you there?
My mom brought me there with Katie, and you know, we all went there together. And
How are you feeling on your way? That must have been hard. I'm leaving my family, and
it was hard. Yeah, I think I smoked a pack of Marlboros on like a half-hour drive. But once I got there, everything had to go. You ain't doing anything there. No,
Yeah.
no cigarettes, no drink, nothing. So I quit everything cold
do you
turkey.
remember what was going through your head? I know it was 13 years ago.
Yeah, I felt a sense of relief. You know, I knew it wasn't going to be easy when I got there,
Mm,
because I did have to kick everything cold turkey.
Yeah.
And that's not easy.
no.
But I think God wanted me to do that to remind me, like, you never want to be in this situation again.
Right. Don't make it
Ever.
easy.
Do
Make it really
not.
painful.
Yeah, this is going to be tough for you. It's going
Yeah.
to take a couple months before you're even
Mm.
feeling good. You know what I mean? But you're going to stick it out. And I kept hearing that in my head. You're not leaving. You're going to stick it out. This is it. You're done. I delivered you. You're good. And
Is there a certain commitment to time when you go there?
you got to do, so it's a 1 year to graduate,
Mm-hmm.
or 15 months to graduate. And then, or to complete, 15 months to complete. And then I think it's 18 to graduate, but you can do the extra 6 months at home or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I did. But I was there for like, I think 14 months.
Can you leave at all?
Yeah. So after,
Certain amount of time.
after I think 6 months, you could do like a weekend home pass with somebody, and then you can do that a couple times. You don't get very much time out of the program,
Yeah.
which is good, because I've tried hundreds of programs, you know, for 2 weeks, a few days, you know, 2 months, and just nothing ever worked.
Do you stay in touch with people that you met there?
I do.
Do you know people who didn't work for them?
I've like I said, I've lost a lot of friends to their addiction, and
Yeah.
that they've no
Left
longer,
there and
they're 6 feet under, you know.
Yeah.
They lost their battle. But I know probably 80 guys that are still doing great. So,
Yeah.
and that's out of 100 and something guys that, you know, went to the program with me.
yeah.
So there's a very high success rate,
Mm.
but you know, there are still some that don't make it, you know. It's unfortunate.
What was the cold turkey like? What was that?
It was brutal. So the first 7 nights I didn't sleep.
Mm.
And there was this guy, Sean Scully. I'll call him out. He's still a guy that I keep in touch with. He's a great guy.
Mm.
But I remember I'd be out in the hallway. It was like, from 1 to 4 in the morning, just sitting in the hallway, like looking at the door. Not that I was going to leave, but,
Yeah.
it was hard, man. And,
Focus on something.
I was just sitting in the hallway, and I just, every night he'd come out. He's like, "Hey man, can I pray for you?" "Yeah, please." And he'd pray with me, go back to bed. Next night, same thing. It was just a routine for the first like week or two.
Wow.
And then
Had you
after,
been there for a while?
he'd been there for like 6 months. Yeah.
Okay. So he was
So yeah,
on
and
board
he
with
knew,
that.
he just wanted to make sure I was okay. And like, because they knew I
Could
was,
you leave? Like it wasn't like you were legally.
I wasn't locked. The door was right there.
Yeah,
it was unlocked. I could have walked right out and been in
Right.
Brockton, and
But that would have been great.
it wouldn't have been good. So,
No.
but I didn't want to.
No.
I didn't want to leave. I couldn't sleep, and I just, so much running through my head. I didn't know what was going on. I was worried about Katie and Tiana, and
Yeah.
starting to think of all the things I did. You know what I mean? And like, those start to eat you alive. You're like, wow, I was not living right, man. And what was I thinking? But at the same time, I started to pray more, and I started to, like I said, in the morning, we'd wake up, we'd have chapel, and then we would, Bible study for, 6-7 hours, and yeah, memorize these 7 verses, memorize this, memorize that. And 2 Corinthians 5:17 was one that always stuck out to me. And it's pretty much my verse that I stand by. And it's, if any man is in Christ, he's a new creation. For the old is past, and behold, a new has come. So I was no longer that addict. I was becoming a new creation, because I had Christ in my life. And I started to understand the relationship aspect of it. It's not religion. It's the relationship with Christ, my personal walk with Christ.
Yeah.
And, that started seeping in, and I kept just reminding myself of that verse every day. And it got me through that program. And, after about 7 or 8 days, I could finally almost sleep. And one of the guys, Pat, came in. He's like, "Yeah, you can wear my headphones. You're not supposed to, but go ahead, listen to some music." So I think it was Hillsong or something like that.
Yeah.
And I had it on repeat, man, for like 2 weeks. And finally, I just was so tired. I could sleep, and I was filled with the word and filled with the Spirit. And I just kept learning and learning and learning, and just delving into the Bible. And we actually, they have you do the Bereans, or the old Bereans, for Assemblies of God. You don't pass, like, they don't give you the test or anything like that, but you read the book, you take like a little test there. So I did that. I passed all those. I read the Bible, did all these verses, and like, you'd have to do at night before you went to bed, you'd have to read, and then you'd have to write, every night you'd write down your prayer in your prayer journal. And, go back at the end of the week and see what your prayer journal was, and how you've grown in those areas and stuff like that. So it was,
Did you find that your hatred for yourself was going away?
Yes. Yes. I actually learned to love myself. And I know it was definitely demonic that was making me feel that way,
Yeah.
And once that was gone and that bond was broken, and you feel this, you learn to love yourself when you learn to love God, and, and that's what I tried to do, and just keep loving Jesus and learning more about Jesus and loving others and loving myself, and how would I want to be loved? You know what I mean? And how do I want to show love to others? Because if I don't love myself, I can't love somebody else,
Yeah.
And it took a long time to realize that. But once I did, like, I was like, wow, it's kind of just eye-opening. It just, gives you that peace, like, wow, it's how Jesus is just so loving. And that's what the gospel's all about, is love,
Yeah. Yeah. It must help you a lot now. It's like, probably, not that we don't all struggle with doubts at times, but for you, I mean, it's legit.
Yeah.
What you walked through, like, if Jesus isn't real, what the heck was all that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And like, I know for a fact, Jesus is 100% real, and I love telling people about Christ, and
When you were in Teen Challenge, how what kind of contact did you have with the outside world?
so like the drug awareness team was
Yeah.
6 days a week. So it was Monday through Saturday.
Yeah.
We were at stores for 6-7 hours.
Wow.
And
Were you able to talk to your family though?
yeah, Katie would come visit once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd like if we were local, like Oxford or
Yeah.
wherever, she'd come and visit, so we could get a
Yeah.
sneak visit. It was great. It
Yeah.
was cool. And then I got to see Tiana when she was so little, and we also got to go to different churches every Sunday. And I was able to give my testimony quite a bit.
Mm.
And that was powerful because, a lot of the churches you're like, I don't think anybody's gonna feel, you're trying to read the crowd, you're like, I don't know. And then that's where it hits most. And they're like, oh, my grandson was struggling with this, and my cousin, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
people you wouldn't think, and you're like, wow. And it touches so many lives. And even on the drug awareness team, I remember we were at Foodies in Duxbury, which is kind of like a Shaw's, but it's like a really high-end supermarket.
Yep.
And some lady came over and she was like, hey, can you pray for my brother, Bill? He's an alcoholic, and, he's really struggling. He's going through divorce and stuff like that. Absolutely. Let's pray right now. Prayed for Bill. I don't remember her name, but we prayed for Bill. She gave a check for like $582, some random like amount of money. And then, we prayed, oh, yeah, made Bill come into the program or whatever. And then I think it was 2 days later, I got back from drug awareness team. I go up in my room. Oh, we got a new roommate, Jared. Hey, what's up? My name's Bill. My sister met some guys at Foodies. So not only did God bring this man to Teen Challenge, he was my bunkmate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, you can have the bottom bunk, because he was an older guy. But it's just amazing, like, how God heard that prayer. And like, because he's like, I was not going to come here. And something told me to come here. And like, now he's doing amazing. He's back with his wife. His business is doing great. He's traveling the world with his kids.
Have you ever seen, was it a sister that you prayed with? Or
I never seen her again.
Yeah.
But, maybe I did at Teen Challenge. Just she came to visit a couple times. But after that, no. And I haven't seen him since. But I keep in touch with him on Facebook every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just he's living life, man. And it's just crazy that God not only said, hey, I'm going to prove to you, I'm going to put him in your bedroom, man. He's going to be your bunkmate.
Yeah.
And it was cool. It was wild.
Yeah.
And that happened a few times.
Prayer like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
And
was there any point in that Teen Challenge where you're like, because things are obviously trajectory really good, but was there any times when you wanted to give up? Just be like, I'm just, or was it all pretty much like, this is hard, but I'm doing it?
Yeah, I never really wanted to give up because I made a promise to myself that I'm going to complete this and I'm done. and I never wanted to give up and I never wanted to leave. But there were times that were hard because I was in this big spiritual bubble, you know what I mean? And like living like everything's perfect and I'm filled with the Spirit every single day. And it's just 100 and something guys that, are just pushing for the Lord, you know what I mean? Evangelizing, we're doing all this stuff, but I'm not thinking like my poor wife's at home alone with our daughter, struggling, doing everything she can to come visit us on the weekends. And like,
Brockton isn't exactly,
no. So, and my mom would come and stuff. And I just never realized like, cause we had a lot of stuff that we had to fix when I came home that I kind of just went right over my head. Cause I felt amazing. You know?
Like, oh, we're good.
I had never felt this way in my life, I'm like, oh, this is great. Everything's going to be perfect. And like, and then you come home and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I got to fix all the crap that I had left behind,
Right. There's forgiveness, but then there's consequences.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. You finish, you graduate. It must have been amazing.
Yeah, it was very good.
So what happens then? You're like, all right, well, I'm going home.
So,
I mean,
came home.
It's really getting out of prison, except a really great prison.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But we could come home and, we lived at her parents' house for a while and that was tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, her parents are great.
But you said you were feeling like everything's going to be great. Well, as you're driving home, was there a little bit of reality like,
yeah, because it's almost.
It's also scary. Like, I mean, you could go find heroin tomorrow. Like,
and that was never a word. Never even crossed my mind.
Yeah,
that's 100% honesty. He delivered that for me. It was gone.
Yeah,
and I thank him for that because there has not been a day since I pretty much got into the program that I thought about doing that.
Mm.
He took that from me, and I'm so grateful for that. And I know a lot of people, it's not like that,
Right.
but that was,
That
he
was
did
your,
that for me.
yeah.
And, but it wasn't even that. It was more like that spiritual bubble gets popped.
Sure.
And then you're like, okay, I'm not worried about doing heroin, but now reality, I got to get a job.
Yeah.
I gotta,
Your dad and husband.
I gotta live with my father-in-law and like, and,
Who's looking at you like, yeah,
yeah,
we'll see if you're
yeah,
clean.
exactly. And that
Yeah.
took a long time, believe me. But, it took a while. It took a few months to get a job because I was supposed to work with this guy. He had promised me a job when I left Teen Challenge, and he kept, oh yeah, give me a couple weeks, give me
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
bringing me around the world. I'm like, whatever, dude. So, so I ended up, just calling some local contractors, like, hey, you guys have anything? And like, I knew, like, just by discernment, I'm like, I'm not gonna go work here because it's probably just not a good situation.
Yeah.
But then a family friend of mine said, hey, there's a guy, why don't you give him a call and you could go install windows or whatever. All right, cool. So I called him. Yeah, man. Yeah. Okay, hi. All right, I'll start. Yeah, you start tomorrow. Cool. All right, sweet. So this was probably 7 months in, and I finally got the job. So I did that for a while, and learned a little bit more about different trades and stuff like that. And I had, done construction my whole life, so I had a basis on pretty much everything in that
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
But then I ran into an old friend of mine from high school who worked in the same place, and I wanted to work with him because he was my friend and
Mhm.
I trusted him, and I knew I could learn way more and
Yeah.
make more money and just be in a better situation. So I started working with him. And one of the kids, Aaron, started working there, Christian. So we became instant friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then his brother, Andrew, started working there, who's also a Christian. And he's one of my best friends today.
Yeah.
And just all of us stay in contact. And it's just cool
God really
how
surrounded
God provided that.
Because that can be a tough crowd.
Yeah.
Construction.
It was tough. I mean, I worked with some
Yeah.
very
Which is fine. Not
Yeah,
that you
and
can't handle that, but that you just any of the temptation and
it
all
wasn't
that.
it was just not a good environment for
Yeah,
me. There was,
yeah.
just tons of just crude, just not,
Yeah.
it wasn't godly, you know what I mean? And it was just, and I fed into it a lot and I didn't want to feed into it. It was nonsense. I'm like, you don't be a fool, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, once in a while, whatever, we're not perfect and, we all make mistakes and I swear a little bit here and there and I try not to, and that God's working that out of me. But, to be transparent, that's one of my things I still struggle with.
Yeah. Yeah. What was family life like when you first got out? Dad, husband trying to learn all that again. And Katie's trying to learn.
So,
And at that point, Tiana's like a couple of years old almost.
yeah, she was just turning, a little bit, she was like 2.5 or something like that, a little bit over 2. And, it was rough because like I was thinking I'm doing the right thing. I'm providing now. I'm doing all this stuff. And like stupid me, I'm like, I'm missing the point. Katie just wants me to be present for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be gentle and just like a simple word of kindness and, just to show that I care and appreciate all the stuff that she went through for me and for my nonsense and putting up with it for so long. And that eventually, it clicked in my head. I'm like, that's it. That's all you ever wanted. And like, in our relationship's been great, but it took a while and it was hard because I had to get the job. Then we had to make enough money to get an apartment. And then from the apartment, move out of her mom and dad's house. And we got an apartment. And then, eventually we ended up buying a house. We're still in the home now. And just God has been providing, every step. And from working with Justin, Christian was going to be born, and I just couldn't do all that traveling anymore. And he was a friend of mine, so I'm like, dude, I can't. I'm going to take a job at Koopman's for now, just because it's right down the street. It just has better benefits and just everything lined up. So I ended up doing that for 7 years. And then my partner Drew, and we had been working together for the whole time at Koopmans, and we started doing side work a long time, probably 6 years ago together. And
Yeah.
we were working 7 days a week. We're working every day at Koopmans for 5 days a week, and then we're working after work doing side jobs,
Yeah.
and then we're working Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, not good.
It was just ridiculous. And that, Katie was starting to feel it again, and
Yeah.
there was just that distance because I was beat when I got home. It was just
Yeah.
the enemy. He was trying to, get in there somehow. Oh, you're trying to make more money, so I'm going to just burn you out and just not, pull you away from your family. So we said enough of this stuff, and we took a leap of faith. Well, I had prayed about it for a long time about starting a business,
Yeah.
and I prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and I had confirmation. I went to a men's retreat maybe 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. And I hadn't said a word about it. And he's an African pastor, Pastor Samuel. And he's like, your business is going to be successful and it's going to be great. And I didn't have a business, but that was just confirmation from the Lord because I was going to pray about that.
Yeah.
And so I kind of knew, and he made
God
it,
answered your prayer.
he made it clear. I didn't even have to pray about it. I was like, all right, cool. And then it was like about 7 months later that it became a thing. And then we're like, all right, we're going to take the leap of faith. And we left. And here we are 1.5 years in. And
what was when you left Teen Challenge and you're getting back on your feet, how did that affect your walk with Christ? Because you're evangelizing and praying and reading the Bible all day. It can't be like that anymore.
So. No. Like I said, that spiritual bubble popped pretty quickly. And I didn't have all those guys around because a lot of them were from like New Jersey, Philadelphia. They were all over Connecticut. And it just, you try and stay in touch in your best intentions too, but it's hard to stay in touch with, 4 or 5 friends, never mind like 60. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it kind of, it faded out quickly, but I was connected with the church. And I had a lot of strong guys there. I was part of this thing called Man Up, which is like a men's ministry, and tons of guys. And I still talk to quite a few of them. And it's just like a lot of encouragement and accountability. So I made a lot of Christian friends. So I did have that, but I had a lot of non-Christian friends too from work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's why I think God put Justin in my life, and then Aaron, and then Andrew, and then, all those things lined up where I had Christian brothers that I was working with daily.
Yeah.
And then when I went to Koopmans, I was, I'm the guy that's giving people hugs like, hey, Jesus loves you, man. Don't forget. And I don't care what people think, you know what I mean?
Right.
And they love it. They smile, they're happy, and they got to know the truth, And that was, I still do it. I still go there and do the same thing. If we're picking up windows and doors, I'm like, hey, man, Jesus loves you, bro.
He's not real happy with you right now. Like, no.
Exactly. Yeah. By the way.
Yeah. Wow. So it's like anybody else, an up and down walk at that point.
It is. Yeah. And, I started a men's group about a month ago. It's been going really well. It's it's biblical. It's for encouragement, accountability. Whatever the Holy Spirit has for us, He kind of puts like a certain thing on my heart, and every week is lined up perfectly with either one or all the men in the group. So it's been really really a blessing. It's keeping me consistent. I found a lot of times I wasn't straying from God, but I wasn't my sword was getting dull because I wasn't reading the word as much. My prayer life was okay, wasn't great, but that you could start to feel that in the family, and you could feel it, whether your kids start to act a certain way, and you know what I mean? You just see little things. And but I know when I'm on fire for God, the family's on fire for God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I'm reading the word,
yeah,
they're in the word, and there's just peace and just joy in the home, and not stress and frustration and impatience. You know what I mean? So,
well, a lot of that, like we talked about last couple of weekends in church, is like how you got to fill up and pour out, right? So it's
Yes.
like if you're just trying to serve without in the word, you're not going to be able to give much. But if you're just, I'm trying to pray, I'm trying to read the Bible, but I'm not, then it's just sputters
Yes.
because you're not exercising those muscles.
Exactly.
And then when you're on fire, you're doing the men's group. You're like, all right, like now,
Yeah.
I can't be hiding because these
Right.
guys will know,
Yeah.
and your family will know.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So it was like maybe a month and a half ago, I got invited to, a men's retreat, and God had, he's like, dude, I'm sick of having 50% of you. I'm sick of having 80% of you. I want 100% of you.
Mm.
You got to leave this stuff at the cross. And he gave me specific things to leave at the cross.
Mm-hmm.
I left him at the cross, and he's just been really like pouring into me and filling me, and I've just been so more in tune with what he's asking me to do,
Yeah.
because he's had a calling on my life my whole life. I was always, being held back by the enemy. The enemy did not want me to do what God has called me to do. And whether that be to evangelize to men, help men that are struggling in addiction or just struggling with anything. It doesn't even have to be addiction. I was getting to the point where, men are so restricted on being honest with each other.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Right.
Why are we so like afraid to tell another guy, hey, I struggle with this, man?
Yeah.
And when you realize that there's every guy in that room is struggling with the same thing or probably has struggled with it, it's freeing. It really is. It's like a freeing thing, and that's what this group is that I started. And that's what I want. And that's what God has called me to do. And just trying to help people open up, and really transparency transforms. So we got to like be transparent with each other and be honest with each other, because we can only fool ourselves, right? We can only hold on to that stuff. You're lying. You can't hide it from God.
No.
You know if you're doing something, and
the enemy accuses you like,
right,
nobody else is like this. You're
exactly.
horrible. Keep it inside.
Exactly. And
Where God's
and
like, let it out.
And when we let it out,
Mm.
it's freeing. It really is. And it
I
allows
was going
us
to
get
ask
closer.
you, but I guess you kind of answered this, but still give you a chance. But like, what as you kind of look back at your story and journey, what do you think God has done with it?
I just think God has, well, he's transformed me 100%. He's changed. He took what he intended me to be, that kind, honest, loving man that's not afraid to tell people how it is. I don't hold back. I will tell somebody exactly what it is, good or bad. And why lie about it? You got to be transparent with people. And I always trying to be honest with people, and I'll never deny Christ. I will never try and hide it. I'll always be open about that. And I could,
which who knows if you would have been this much without these trials, I mean, not that you would go through them purposely,
right?
But God does work all things.
Yeah, he God didn't come for the healthy, right? He came for the sick.
Yeah.
And I was sick, a very broken man. And that's when he found me. Oh, let's say he found me a long time. That's when I found him. That's when I really, truly knew of his glory and his power.
What would you say to someone who is in the throes of addiction? I'm sure you have talked to people like that. What do you say to them?
I would say, you're not alone. There's always somebody to talk to. Definitely pray and be in the word. And I know how hard that can be when you're in that.
Yeah.
But never, always pick up your phone. Don't hesitate. Do not, that phone call could be your saving grace. Too many times they don't pick up the phone and they relapse, and that's it.
Yeah.
Life is over.
Yeah.
And here on earth anyway, and I'm just sick of seeing friends die, young people die, and I'm sick of the enemy trying to take out a generation with drugs, because there's so much more to life than using. And There's always somebody that's been in your situation or can relate to your situation in one way, shape, or form. So you're never alone in the battle. So don't hesitate to reach out and ask for help.
What about someone, regardless of addiction, maybe they're teenager or young adult especially, but it could be really any age, but feeling that darkness you described, like even before you started using, you already tried to kill yourself.
Yeah.
So that was there.
Yeah.
What that just feels like, I hate myself. What do you tell them?
I wish I had been honest, you know, because I tried to hide, like just hold it in and not talk about it, not tell people about it. Definitely talk about it. Let people know, because you're not alone in that either. You just be vocal about it. And that's just the enemy trying to take your life. You know, he does not want us to find him, and he doesn't want us to live, because he hates us. Jesus loves us. The devil hates us, and he's going to do everything he can to destroy us. So do not hold that in. If you're struggling with, you know, depression or self-hatred, talk about it. There's somebody else that can relate with you, or at least give you advice and help you.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about the false faiths that are out there. And there's many. They're always, you got to earn it.
Yep.
And so someone who's feeling that way, who thinks religion is that, or God is that, he's on some hill that I need to earn it. And they look at their life and it's like, I hate myself. I've stolen, I've lied, I've all this crap that I've done. I'm not making that. If there is a God, he wants nothing to do with me. And that's the exact opposite of the gospel.
Absolutely is. Yeah. You can't.
It's
you can't,
clearly demonic.
You can't out-sin the cross.
No.
And I always like, oh, if I go to church, it's going to start on fire. You know, that's stupid. That's just the mindset, you know?
Fall in.
Yeah. Oh, it's just craziness.
And I always like, why would God do that to the rest of us?
Right. Exactly.
Because of you.
Yeah. No.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that. Going to kill us all because you walked in.
Yeah. No.
But it's, I think it, you know, that's what we long for, especially young people, but really anyone. Gosh, people who are right now in their 80s who are just living out the string because they think they've completely screwed up life, and they don't realize
it's never too late.
That God's grace is enough for them if they would just turn to him.
That's it. And it's as simple as just asking him to enter your heart, you know?
Yeah.
I found when I was broken, like I said, I cried. I said, I called him. I said, if you're real, prove it to me. Deliver me from this addiction. And he did.
Yeah, he did.
And he lined everything up for me, you know, and his timing was perfect.
So what if someone was walk in right now and say, I mean, Jared, I respect your story, but clearly you needed a crutch. You needed to believe in something because you were so low, but none of that's real.
I tell him,
without swearing.
Like, yeah, all right, buddy. No, it's absolutely real, because I was on death's door, literally, you know, one use away from being dead. And I didn't call out any other God. I said, Jesus, and I called him by name. If you are real, deliver this addiction from me and show me that you're real. And he did.
And he delivered.
He delivered.
Heroin addiction.
Gone. Like that. And I know that doesn't happen for many people. And you know, but it can. And and he did it for me because I asked for it specifically. And if that's what it took for him to show me that he was real, and he did, that's what it was.
What about if there's people watching that have someone that is going through this in one way, shape, or form, whether addiction or coming out of it, trying to still, like, what, it's always a big question. What do you do? What do you do with someone you love or someone you care about that's going through it?
Give him my number. Give him my phone number. If I can't help him, I know somebody that can.
Yeah.
100%. You're not alone, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people willing to talk to people. And if anybody, you know, I know a lot of guys from different walks of life that have been through this, that love Jesus, and you'd be pretty amazed at some of the stories. So yeah, they're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I think people struggle with how much do I help or not help. And
You don't want to. So a lot of mistakes is people will enable
yeah.
a lot, which is hard because it's your loved one,
And you get good at manipulating.
you get good at manipulating. You get good at the woe is me, and it's not good. It's not healthy. If I had gotten way less of that, I think I would have learned a lot faster.
Yeah.
But
it's hard. Like you said, you had parents who love you.
Yeah.
You got people who love you, and they're like, sometimes you're just like, I just want to keep them alive,
That's pretty much what it was,
Yeah.
They just wanted to keep me alive, and they were worried, but just know that you're never alone.
So I think that's the key, is to push people towards getting help.
Right.
But then, man, you really only got help when you wanted it.
Exactly. You can't force somebody into it, because so many times, my mom tried to get me clean, and my dad tried to get me clean, and
right, forcing you to go to.
I'm like, fine, I'll go to the, I'll do the, they called it like a dry cycle, or a quick wash, and we just go for like a week, and then you'd come out and you'd end up using right away, and and then I would try for a few months, because there were times when I kind of wanted to get clean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would do like 6 months, and I'd do okay for a while. And then I wasn't ready. I knew I was ready because I was completely broken. God told me I was ready. I asked Christ, and it all came together at his timing, which was perfect.
I almost wonder sometimes too, because the enemy knows. The enemy's not God, so he doesn't have omniscience or anything like that, but he's very smart, very ancient, and demonic forces know somehow maybe who has such potential for the gospel.
Yeah.
And it's like they can tell in ways maybe we can't. So you're a young man. The average person's probably like, I don't know, got some big plan for this guy, right?
Yeah.
But the demonic forces are like, we're going to go after him.
Yeah.
Because if we can tear him down, right? It's almost like not an encouragement, but if you feel attacked, that could be
God has a calling.
Yeah, that God's really going to do something if you just trust him.
He has a big calling on your life.
Yeah.
And he's definitely has a calling on your life. And people with addictive personalities are dangerous to the enemy, because
we get addicted to the gospel.
We're bold, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna tell you about Jesus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people will receive it, because we're not trying to jam it down your throat, but we're telling you through our testimony, like, this is what he did for me. Christ died for me so that I can live. You know what I mean? And he delivered this addiction from me, so I can tell him about, tell you about him, and not be afraid or ashamed to do it. I know a lot of people are very reserved, and it's hard to talk about it. And that's okay, because not everybody has a gift of,
we have personalities. Like
exactly.
And you said, it's interesting. I didn't really think about that too much, but addictive personality type can be again, our strengths are often our weaknesses, and vice versa, right?
Right. So and he's going to
turn that weakness into a strength.
Yeah.
Be addicted to Jesus. I know,
exactly.
So cheesy, don't put that on a
no,
t-shirt.
You got to put it on a t-shirt.
Oh man. Well, that's, and so now as you're moving forward, you're seeing a guys group form, you've seen God use you in different ways. It's kind of exciting.
It is.
But you also got to recognize the enemy's going to keep attacking, man.
I'll tell you what, I've noticed, not just me, but most of the guys in the group have been attacked the past few weeks, either with like super stressful situations, we had bought the box truck for my company, and just nothing was lining up, and like we're like, oh, we're not going to get this, we can't get the loan, it was just like we had to go around the world. It was just jumping through hoops to get anything done. So we just kept praying about it and just staying consistent, because I know the enemy does not want that group to happen. There's been oh, let's skip this week. I'm like, I can't. He said consistency. Be consistent. It doesn't matter if there's two there or 10.
Yeah.
Two or more are gathered, he is amongst us.
Yeah.
And, every week there's been at least 5 to 10 guys. So, it just, a lot of the guys, oh man, I can't make it this week. I'm just super tired.
Yeah.
Something happened at work, dude. I'm stuck here till like 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
It
Well,
just,
that makes sense.
it happens,
Even small groups I've been a part of, and I've talked to so many people, it's always the same. And it's partly the enemy, partly is just life. We're tired.
It's life, yeah, life,
right?
life.
But it's like, I don't think I want to go to my group tonight. And it's like I don't know any time where you're like leaving, going, well, shouldn't have. That was stupid. I shouldn't have done that.
Right.
You're always like, well, I'm so glad I actually,
yeah.
And it's another encouragement for people, like
Absolutely.
regardless of where you're at and
Right, yeah.
the different experiences of life, but whether it's your Bible study, your small group, your ministry, something, just
Right.
man, always give me a reason why not to go. You can't go.
Yep.
And just do it. It's like just take the step. Don't worry about what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Don't worry about, if it's not going to be a life-changing group that night. It's just
Right. Yeah.
consistency.
That's what I keep hearing. God saying,
Yeah.
just be consistent.
Yeah.
Don't worry about who's here. I'm going to put who I want there.
Yeah.
Who needs to be there is going to be there.
And the hard part because for you, if you're not consistent, it'll fall apart.
It will fall apart.
Yeah.
So I've been very consistent.
Yeah.
I make sure I put a message out every morning with
There
an
we go.
encouraging verse. And it's it's a men's group, so it's geared towards men. Every morning, it's like just an encouraging thing for the guys, and it's everybody's involved, everybody's going back and forth. I can
It's
tell
Wednesday nights.
it's Wednesday nights. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hey, any guys want to come, man?
Yeah.
46 Union Street, Whitensville. Come on by.
Well, I think we'll make sure that to let people know who watch this episode or listen to it.
Yeah.
Because you said earlier, if somebody needs to talk or needs help or needs point in the right direction, certainly that's local. Even if you're not, reach out and we can help.
Certainly.
So we'll make sure people will monitor that, and then if you're interested in a Wednesday night group, guys, not girls, we don't need any ladies.
just a man.
Ladies, you got plenty of other groups you can choose from.
Yeah, you get the women's group here on Wednesday.
Yeah. I'm really glad God's using you, and we just get to not just hear your story, but see it play out.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah, it feels good that I'm finally listening, like, and being obedient, 100%, and not just giving half or 80%. I'm trying to give it all to him, and I could feel the difference over the past, like I said, about 2 months, month and a half. It's just I can really feel him doing some incredible stuff in my life.
Exciting to know what he might do.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And that's why if you have 3 to 5 guys one night,
it is what it is. It's okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's who God
and
wanted.
Those
that
groups
night.
have been super powerful.
I'm sure.
With just a few guys. And it's meant for that.
Tend to be a little bit more.
You
open
get
up.
more. Yeah, you could definitely open up more and not shy away from questions. And I think people are more comfortable to say, hey, I've been struggling with this. You guys,
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Yep.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Well, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it, brother.
No, thanks for having me. I
Your
appreciate
story's
it.
awesome. God is good.
Yeah, he is good. Yes.
Can't wait to see what Jesus does.
Amen.
I don't know.
Awesome.
I'm done.
Sweet.
Thanks, man.